Okay, we're gonna do some color theory using tempera paint. I have a finished color wheel here. Now there's a lot going on. I just wanna go over what we already see, and some things I labeled already. So you'll see some colors already written here. We've got red here, blue here, and yellow here. The center circle is going to be your hue, and you can see hue in the middle here. That's where you're going to be adding colors, some straight from the bottle or the palette, and some that you mix. You're gonna just put them directly into this center wheel. The smallest wheel where it says shade will be that color, the hue mixed with black, and then the outer wheel will be that hue mixed with white, and that's called a tint. Okay, now we need to get these in the correct order, so make sure that you are following along. Middle circle red, blue, and yellow, and you can see that's all labeled. And then once you've had put your primary colors in, you can start thinking about secondary and tertiary colors. So red and blue make purple, and that's where this goes. Same with red and yellow make orange, and also yellow and blue make green. Now there's another section here for your tertiary colors. This one's called a red violet, or a red, some people would say purple. And then this one's called a violet blue. And so you also need to be mixing that third color. So I'm gonna get started, and I'm just gonna do a little bit of this color wheel for us, and then you will be doing it on your own. I'm gonna move this over. You'll get a clean sheet. I recommend you fill everything out first. You'll get a palette with some paint. Now hopefully it's mostly clean. If not, I can give you some clean paint. And then I also have a place to mix the colors. You should have water, and you should have a paper towel to also dry your paintbrush, because we don't want a wet paintbrush, okay? So I'm gonna get started by first just putting directly my hues in. So I'm gonna start with my red paint here, and that goes in the middle. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna put in my yellow. Try to get this nice and clean in here. I went over a little bit. Now, don't forget to clean your brush really, really well, and dry it on the paper towel. You don't want to add water to these paints, okay? So make sure you have a paper towel or two next to you. I'm gonna get my yellow in. I'm gonna move this up a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Now, you might notice that tempera paints are not the best quality paint in the world. I do recommend that you use acrylic paints for most artworks that you do. But for color mixing, something that you're not really gonna keep, you can go ahead and use temperas. Okay, I'm gonna mix my orange. Now, whenever you're color mixing, I always start with my lightest colors. So if I'm mixing an orange, check out my palette here. I put here, my color mixing happens only on the palette. I've got my yellow and my red here, and I'm just gonna move a little bit of yellow over, and I'm gonna clean my brush and dry it, and then I'm gonna add just a dot of that red, and you'll see how fast it turns to orange. Now you gotta mix enough paint to fill in your box. Again, the color quality is probably not the best, but it's okay for an activity like this. This is kind of a dark orange here. You could probably get away with doing it a little bit lighter. Wonder if I can throw in some yellow here and see if we can lighten it a little bit. Okay. You should really, if you need to cover a color, don't do what I just did. You really want to wait for it to dry. Okay. For the sake of time, I'm going to move on. Now here, I haven't written it yet, but now we've got an orange yellow. You really just combine these two colors to get your orange yellow. And so it should be a little more yellow than orange. I'm gonna go ahead and move some more yellow paint over, so I have some clean yellow paint. Move it here, and I'm just gonna add a touch of this orange to it. Sometimes I mix a little bit on the side here. Instead of mixing the whole thing up, you can just mix a little area until you get the color that you need. Okay, this is definitely more yellow than orange. So this is my yellow-orange. And then you do the same thing here. It would be more of a red-orange here. Now let's go ahead and mix. I'm gonna use red because I think you'll see it best. I'm gonna take my red and I'm going to add a little bit of white in it to get my tint. The outer circle is a tint and it is written on here. So I've got my white, I've got a clean white, I've got some red. I'm gonna take a tiny little dot, mix it in here to get my pink. When you mix white and red, you've got your pink. So this is your tint. Now the next one is the shade, which goes right here. Same thing, I'm cleaning my brush, I'm drying it on the paper towel, I'm taking my red. There's not a whole lot of red on my palette. I'm just gonna move some fresh red over. I'm gonna clean my brush so I don't get my little black dot dirty. And now I'm gonna mix my shade. A black goes a long way, so tiny little dot there, and you'll see how dark it gets. And now I've got my shade. So red is finished. I have done my tint and my shade for red. Now you have to go in and do all of these, and I'm gonna take the finished one again so you can really see. I really recommend you take the time to label all of them. Orange, red, orange, red, orange, orange, yellow, 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 green, and so on. Don't worry about the one in the neutral, in the middle that says neutral. All right, I'm here to help, so let's get started.